For those of you who don't know me, my name is Matt. I work in the communications department down at Donnelly-Boland, and I don't even want to say I've been tasked with, I think I've been suckered into being the DocuSign guy. So today's tutorial, we're going to go over some very, very basic aspects of DocuSign, and I'm going to walk you through mainly how to send an envelope and how to create a template. But if you ever have issues and questions moving forward, the best way is just to reach out to me directly. I'm going to be the point person for everything non-billing related. If you have any billing questions, those go to Jerry Cool from IT. He's the one who manages that. So if your organization is trying to figure out how many you should send, or are you hitting your allotment or things like that, that's on him. But anything about the functionality of the program comes to me. Let me just begin by saying this is super simple. So I don't want anyone feeling like DocuSign is a difficult program to use or create templates or to send out envelopes. It is incredibly easy, and I think that it saves a lot of time. The thing for me that I love about it the most is that it allows people to track things in a way that sometimes you just can't online. So for us, one of the major benefits is we were sending emails to people and we didn't know if they opened the email. We didn't know if they read, but this can say, hey, like, you got this email. This is exactly like the next step you need to take. So I have a video that's about 5-ish minutes that I will send to everyone after this too. And that will just be like a way for you to see it and say like, oh, okay, what did he do right here? And then kind of go through it that way. But for today, what I want to do is I'm going to just do kind of a live session on this. And I'm going to share my screen. And so this is my DocuSign home screen. And there are a couple very basic things to understand with DocuSign. Anyone can have an account. We are not charged in any way for people having an account. We are charged only for the envelopes we send. The definition of an envelope, think about like an actual envelope. Whatever you can stuff in there and send out is good. So if you send out 2 or 3 or 4 forms at once, that counts as one. But even if it's the same recipient, if you send 4 out in a row, that counts as 4. And we're paid, we have an overarching plan where we pay upfront for a lot of them. But what this is we are paying for every envelope we send. Now we have thousands and thousands of envelopes, but believe me, these things can go a lot faster than you think. So all of you should have gotten the HR enrollment form for all of your medical. I was the one to create that, and all of those forms were together in one. Was it a little bit more difficult to, kind of sift through all those? Sure, it was, especially if you were changing any of your medical forms. But one of the things to keep in mind is that if you did that, that counted for one. So we were sending to 450 people. If we sent each of those 6 forms out, would have been a heck of a lot more. So we'd be looking at thousands instead of just 450. So that's why you should be a little bit mindful about the things that you send. So when you when you jump in here, you see your home, your manage, your templates, your reports, and your settings. Settings are basically the exact things that you would assume settings to be. So this is your name, the way that your signature appears, I'm going to have some different things than you will, but it has the billing plan, the account profile, stuff like that. Reports are really great in this because you can actually see how many you have sent, which ones came back, which ones were voided, which ones were completed. And you can keep a track of every single one that you are interested in. You can go back to different time frames, and as you manipulate this more, you can start seeing like, oh, over the last 12 months under my account we have completed 546, and we can see the ones that haven't gone to one of the other buckets and things like that. But today what we're really going to be looking at is we're going to be looking at the regular sending, and we're going to be looking at the templates. So first up, you want to send a document to somebody. I created an incredibly basic sample document, and it can be in any format you want. It can be in Word, it can be in PDF, it can be all the various formats. If you're using Google Docs, just save it as a PDF, dump it in there. It doesn't have to be in any particular file, so that's a good thing to know. The first thing that you see here is actually not the document itself, but you see who your recipients are. So for this example, let's go Steve Priest, and your email is spriest@hsao.com, right?
Org.
Oh, you guys are. It's like I don't even know HSAO. I can't believe I do something like this. So if you want to send to multiple people at once, you can do that. For me, I just like to know when people are getting things. I want to make sure it's received. I like to see how they see it. So I typically send a CC copy to myself. In our department with Anna, a lot of times we CC the other person on it. And this just kind of keeps everybody in the loop on things. So if you determine that when you send certain things out that you want to CC yourself or other people, you can do that. Again, this is all one envelope. So you're not sending to, this is all under the one. Only now, if you send the same thing and you have a bunch of different signers, that counts for each of the signers. CCs are free. So you can create a custom email language for each recipient. They already, please DocuSign this template. Might just say like Donnelly-Boland. Hey, Steve, sign this for me. Something real basic. You can, if you want to write more in there, you absolutely can. Typically what I do, since I send out documents on behalf of other people a lot, sometimes I'll include the other person's contact information. Like if you have any questions, reach out to Jim Boland, and then I put his contact information there. You can do that however you like. So on this page, you uploaded a file, you determined who you were sending it to and who was going to be the signer, if you wanted a CC copy, and then what it looks like in the email. Okay, very basic stuff. Then you go up to the next button. There's a next button at the top of the screen and the bottom of the screen. And so far, I've gotten about 300 questions as to which one is the right one. They're the exact same. It's just a functionality thing. So either one is totally cool. This is a sample document, option 1, option 2. The reason that I put this in here is because there are a lot of different things. In the majority of cases, people are going to just plop a signature down here, maybe plop a date signed here, and be done. But there are other things if you want to include the person's name. If I wanted to include the person's name right here, it's going to come out, if we go to the recipient preview, as, oh my goodness, that's Steve Freese. How does it know? Because it knows that's who it's sending it to. So if you want to put the person's name anywhere in the document, if you have that person's company listed in there or their email, you can list those types of things. Also, you can add a text box that they can or cannot fill out. Keep in mind that when you put something over here, let's say, for example, like a text box, along the right-hand side, it says a required field. So if they're yellow, that means that the recipient is going to have to do something with them. If you uncheck it, it's not a required field, and then it becomes optional. And that works the same way for a lot of these different things, like check boxes, drop-down boxes, radio boxes, things like that. So for me, Steve needs to know to go to option 1 or option 2, whatever that means. But if I go to check boxes, he would be able to check both of them, and I only want him to be able to check one. So I want to use radio buttons. So I'm going to throw out a radio button, and then you can manipulate them a little bit. And again, going back to the recipient preview, I know that he can check one or the other. If you check the other one, it goes away. That's it. That's the entire document. That's the entire thing. So this is when he receives this document, it's going to have his name. He knows that he needs to check one of these things. And if he doesn't check one of these things and doesn't sign it, it won't allow him to get to the finish screen and he's done. So he needs to do these two things. So the last step is just to hit send. That's absolutely it. So if you have basic documents, you can just set this up and send it in a matter of a couple minutes. So for example, at Donnelly-Boland, we send a lot of proposals out. And after the proposal is finished, the time from getting the proposal into DocuSign and sent out usually takes about 5 minutes, maybe under. And it's only taking 5 minutes because it's a potential client. So I'm really like paying special attention to each detail. But other than that, this is it. So I'm going to hit send. And I actually sent this to Steve. What is nice now, you know what? I actually, this is not going to come across the exact same way because I have mine set up slightly differently. And I have mine set up along with Anna, and she's going to see that. But so it's actually going to be coming from Anna. Right there, it says it's from Anna Getz. It's just because we have our accounts linked together. But please DocuSign. And on my own computer, I just received the copy of this too. So if we go over here and go back to mail, boom, here it is. Hey, Steve, sign this for me, thanks. And I can review the document on my end. It's not going to allow me to do anything because I just got a CC copy, but it shows me the document. So now within DocuSign, I know that I am waiting for others. I'm waiting for someone else on this. And so let's just take a brief pause. That's what this is. That's what the majority of this is. You have a document, you put it in there, you fill out the fields that you want to fill out, you have a name and an email, you hit send. It's not super difficult. So how about we just open it up? Does anyone have any questions? Does anybody not understand something? Did I go over something too quickly?
I have a quick question. So is there like a file to where, like, say I wanted to set up a bunch of consents, or do I have to do it as needed?
Nope, that's what I'm going to be going over next. I'm going to go over templates next. Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
I mean, what we've been using though, like instead of templates, is just like the staff member just filling out the form. Yep. And then just putting it in there. So yeah, like,
and that's also what the Alliance has chosen to do too. They have decided that they have a blank template, and then say in Microsoft Word or PDF, they just fill it out, and then they just go through the exact same process that I just did, and then they're done.
Yeah.
So I don't know the intricacies of your organization, if that makes the most sense, but it appears like in some instances it's totally viable. And because this is so quick, there's really not a ton to it.
Yeah, it's so easy because you can just modify any document you have to get signed. So there's nothing really you know what I mean? There's not a lot of work to it. Like, it's just like you're preparing a consent. You type up the stuff and then you just attach it on here and you send it. So it's really simple. So
would you still like me to go through templates?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Is there another question anywhere? Okay. Oh, you just coming on the screen, or do you have a question? All good.
I think she just came on.
Oh, okay. No big deal. Okay. So the second thing.
Sorry, I'm late, Matt. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, absolutely not. You're all good. So we went over the really basic way to put this together. And then the second thing is to create a template. The one thing about a template is if you're sending out the same document, this is a pretty easy thing to do. So for example, there are times when you're going to send out the exact same thing, and maybe you want the participants to fill out the information and you don't need to fill it out. If that were the case, you would do this. So it's doing that thing where part of the screen is at the top for me. So you go over to templates and you create a new template. And we are going to use that super basic document that I was using before. You can, after the name, you can add a description to it, something like that. And now here is the real difference with creating this and creating something else. You are going to talk about a role here, and a role is a little bit different because what we have done in the past is we have, like for HR, when we created templates, we created something that just said employee up here. This way we can send this to a bunch of different people at once, instead of all together. So we are also doing bulk sendings. So you can do that, and that you can, like when you create like an Excel spreadsheet, you can have everybody listed as employee, and that way you can bulk send things. But for this case, all you need to do in the template part is fill out the role. You don't have to fill out the name or the email at this time because you don't know who you're going to send it to yet. And you can still send the subject line and the email address, no big deal. And then you go to next, just like we did the last time. We know to go to our radio buttons. Pull this one down a little bit. We like to add the name up top, signature, and date signed. Those are the things that we like and that we want to do, right? So that's it. But instead of sending send, we hit save and close. So what we just did right there was we set up a template in like 30 seconds. So now let's say that you come in and you sent something to Steve already, but now you want to send it to somebody else. Now Kai needs to get it. So you go to templates and you come into basic templates and you hit use. Now you just put the person's name in. Let's say, for example, this is me. And you're at this slightly modified version of this. So this doesn't have all of the different things. So if you want to go to advanced edit, you could go back to the same view that you're used to. And now I have the template in here and I'm sending it to somebody else, and I go to next. And if you look, this stuff's already here. So it literally creates a thing. So if you're ever going to be sending forms that have all of the information in it that you do not need to add any new information, or it's not really unique. So let's say, for example, a consent form. There may be very good reasons to use a consent form that you're going to use again and again and again. And every time you just want to jump in and hit use template. And this way you don't have to set it up at all. After you set it up once, it's always going to be set up. It's going to bring this up. You put somebody's name in, and I could hit send from right here and be absolutely done with it. Sometimes when I go through these things, I think that people are like, man, maybe he's just going through it so fast. I'm not. That's it. It is really this easy. One of the things that DocuSign has done that a lot of the other kind of competing platforms haven't done is that they have made this as easy as possible. They're trying to limit the time. There are some customizable things that DocuSign doesn't do stylistically that kind of annoy me, but they don't do them on purpose. They're trying to make this plug and play, just go. So whether you're sending an individual document and filling it out first, like Steve was talking about, or you're creating a template, any way that you want to do that, you can do this directly in DocuSign. Also, if you want to kind of do a hybrid model, like you want to have categories, but instead of typing it in somewhere else, you want to type it into DocuSign, you can actually make a template with those fields and you can type it in, but then the other stuff is already pre-populated. You can send it out that way. So that's really the essence of DocuSign. That's the vast majority of what the platform does and what it can do relies solely on you having the information, putting it in there and sending it out. This is secure. This is fast. People can get back to you much quicker. There have been a couple times where we've actually been on the phone with somebody and they said like, hey, I want to move forward with this. And we said, hey, can I send you something? And I was actually on a client call and she said, yep, just send it over. While we were on the call, I drew it up, I put it into DocuSign, sent it to her, and she sent it back in just a handful of minutes. And it's just a way to, have that documentation in line. Questions?
I have a question, and I know that, Kelly and Clint and Joanna and I are all kind of on the same, I'm not speaking for them, but I know that the reason we were doing this is strictly because of the consent forms. But we need them to fill out certain things, and I didn't understand it from your tutorial, but our document needs them to fill in the child's name, their date of birth, their school district, what building they're in, and then sign and date it. So how do we get them to do that on the form that we already have?
So the form that you already have, that part about when I said like just enter a text box, if you already have those things, you put the text box there and make that a required field. So it's in like child's name, and then it's a required field for them to type it in. Child's birthday. And then they put in the birthday, and then they get to the bottom part. So, and especially with what you're talking about right there, if you're not filling out the information and the client is filling out the information, this can just be a template that you just create once and you are done. Every time you just hit use and put in the email address.
That's exactly what we'll do. So we just click and drag that text over to there. Is that what we do?
Yep. So here, I'll actually jump back into it.
Hey, Matt, do you want a copy of a release
send one to me right now?
All right. It may not. It's probably not going to look. It's probably not going to look the same.
Send you mine. I can send you. Okay.
Just send it to me right now, and
because I was going to share my screen and do it, but it's easier if you do it. So.
Okay, I just got one from Steve.
Yeah.
Okay.
This isn't probably the same as. This is definitely not the same as yours, Lorraine, but it's probably very similar. It's a similar concept because I certainly understand what you mean.
Yep.
Okay. So let me go back to sharing my screen. So, let's actually, I don't know what I just hit right there. So let's go to templates. Create a new template. Upload document. Again, roll only matters when you're doing bulk sendings, but you still need to put something into roll to get to the next screen. Okay. Hello. Please sign. Please fill out and sign this. And you can modify it for each new thing. Oh, you know what? I'm actually going to delete this because I'm going to just do it myself. So the fields that they had in there. So,
Oh, okay.
So what I'm going to do, so for this person right here, is this the person you're sending it to? Is that person?
This is the person's name.
Yep.
Right
So just person's name, and then you just go to text box.
Yep.
And they can see that says date of birth, text box, social security number. I keep having to move around the screen.
Sure.
So
that'd be a text box. Yeah.
Yep. And then all of these are check boxes.
Yep.
And again, they don't look perfect. So what you can do, especially with templates, is you can make them in your format so that they best, fill like are filled out here. So this right here is just more text. Again, I'm sure that you can all be doing a better job of this when you're going through it. So let's say this one you want to fill out. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So what we can do here, that's where it is. Just say this will expire on 7/1. Whatever.
Yeah.
So you can put that in. Then here, this is one of the things that's going to get a little tricky because it looks like you have various signers. When you're sending on DocuSign, you're sending it, unless you're sending it to multiple people. So like if you're sending it, but each one has to have their own email address.
Yeah.
So if you, let's just say for this example, it's just one and date signed, and that's all you need there.
Hey, Matt, can I ask you a question?
Yep.
On that? So that gray box that you filled in the text right there.
Yep.
Can you sign this yourself?
So yes, you can act as a signer too, but on the screen before, we're in template, so it's not the exact same. On the screen before, you need to actually, remember how I sent a CC copy to me?
Yeah, and then you're a signer.
You're not sending a CC copy, you make yourself a signer, and then you can put, you sign here, and the other person signs here.
Okay, so how many, because I don't use that often, but how many people can be CC signers on there?
I've never hit a max. I don't know.
All right. I was just thinking.
I don't even know if there. I mean, I have to assume that there's some type of requirement, but I mean, like there have been times where I've CC'd 5 or 6 people and there hasn't been a.
Okay. All right.
I'm sorry, I forget who was actually asking that question.
Lorraine.
Okay, Lorraine.
Yeah, that was me.
Does that make sense?
Yes, totally. My only other question is that on the date signed part, where you inserted that date signed, is that going to populate today's date, or do they have to fill that in?
The date, it populates the date that they sign it.
Okay, because we would want them to fill that out. Like I might send it today, but they might not sign it today. And I would need to know the date they signed it. So that would just be another text box? No,
it literally only the date that they sign it becomes that date.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
So if they sign it tomorrow, it's 4/22. If they sign it,
perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what I need. So perfect.
Cool. Yeah, and these types of things can become easier and easier over time. And I know that we're trying to build out internally for our own companies different ways that we can use this, because, for example, every new hire, you're getting new hire paperwork. Let's put it all through DocuSign. Let's, you know what I mean? Because everybody knows these are the steps that you have to take, and then you can track them. All the stuff is in here, and you can get back to it, and you can say, look, they signed it, here it is.
Yep. That's great.
So are there any other questions for me at this time?
Are you sending out a link for where we sign in for the DocuSign form? Is there any passwords or codes for us?
So Steve, have I received that list from you for all the people who need it?
I think Lisa has the list for the children's team that Kelly's talking about. And so then once our team from the RTF group, the staff that I sent you for this training, those will be the staff that will be using this moving forward. After we meet, like we have a meeting actually tomorrow, and I just want to talk through it. So I'm glad Sarah was here just at least to look at it and see like what it looks like.
Yep. And how about, because I know I'm getting lists from different places. If you could just send me a total list of everyone who needs it,
okay, all right,
who needs access, that way I can just be sure that I'm sending them to the right people. And
okay, I'll do that.
And what that will look like is it's going to say, like, you're invited to DocuSign. You sign up with your email account, and then you can create your own password, and you have an individual account, and that's yours. It will be tied to the Donnelly-Boland Alliance and HSAO conglomerate account. But ultimately you would be able to do things within that.
There was an issue when I first signed up for DocuSign, just to make sure everyone's aware. They're like, I think used DocuSign before to like sign things, and then like made an account, and then I couldn't be linked to the DBA account. So just so everyone's aware, like there could be potential issue, but like they'll be able to work it out. So if something comes up, there's an issue, just let us know.
Yeah, that has been really the only issue that we've run into so far.
Okay.
If people have an existing account with that email address. So if you have one with your personal email address, no big deal. But if you have one with your HSAO email, then we just come up with a workaround and we'll figure it out.
All right. Can I ask a question, Matt, real quick, just to Sarah? I don't want to put her on the spot, but I'm going to just real quick. Does that make sense to you in terms of like the discharge paperwork, Sarah?
It does.
Okay. All right.
And it's very easy. I mean, I haven't created a template, but I have signed things via DocuSign.
Yeah.
It's very easy.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, what I'm going to do now is I am going to end this, and I am going to upload it to YouTube, and I will send this video and the tutorial video out. And if anybody who wasn't here is interested in checking it out, or if people who were here just found this so incredibly insightful that they just wanted to watch it again in their leisure as an entertainment piece, then they would be able to do that too.
Thanks, Matt.
All right. Thanks so much, guys.